Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Now, I want to start by saying that this video, it's all speculation. But the news I'm going to discuss is of course real, and it gives us a slim chance of missing Doctor Who being recovered. I know it's been 11-12 years without much news, so don't get your hopes up too much. And to be honest, if you experience the Omni rumour, you probably won't get your hopes up too much. Very soon, we could be seeing some more, specifically Patrick Troughton episodes of Doctor Who. We're going to get into all that in a second. So if you're wondering what this news is about, it's about the Melbourne Hoarder. If you don't know the Melbourne Hoarder, you've got no idea what I'm talking about, then I'm going to give you a very quick breakdown. In November 2022, Australian Aron Challinger goes on the 42 to Doomsday podcast. He discusses coming across a large collection of home video recordings that once belonged to a now deceased Melbourne man. Aron actually said that in 30 plus years of going through collections, it was the biggest he'd ever seen. This was a hoarder. And while he'd got there and there was still tons and tons and tons of material, it turns out 27 tons of material had already been destroyed. The family was going through the collection, and look, if you've lost a loved one, it's difficult, right? And you can make decisions like that. You just want to get rid of everything, not worry about it. So that's understandable. It's a shame that they were chucking things away without knowing what the value was, but I think it is understandable. Now, what was left, he did manage to save, and the collection was transferred to the University of Canberra. The material was filmed from about 1969 onwards. I'm guessing that was to do with the moon landing, wanting to record that, but I'm not actually quite sure. Now, you might ask where Doctor Who comes into this. Well, the Hoarder and his dad were big Doctor Who fans. He actually had some of the later DVDs, as you can see on screen. Given Doctor Who was shown in Australia into the 70s, it means that he could have recorded from as early as about the Faceless Ones or even the Daleks. Now, the final missing episode shown in Australia was a repeat of the Space Pirates in 1973. So, between about Faceless Ones Evil, the very back end of Season 4, to pretty much the end of Season 6, that's what we're looking at. So, no Marco Polo Massacre. Unfortunately, those episodes are not in contention. Now, you might still question, well, maybe it's a couple of DVDs, but how do we know he actually recorded Doctor Who? Well, that's a good question, and Aron has said that going through the collection, he saw a lot of recordings of 80s Doctor Who, so I think all the way up to Survival the guy recorded, so that is promising. Of course, Doctor Who, it's one of many shows that can be found in the collection. Fans of Softly Softly or The Goodies might also end up with something to cheer. We have to remember that decades on from broadcasts of these shows, any finds are incredible. In April 2023 there was an update, but perhaps not a significant update came next year, in May 2024, with the confirmation of material as far back as 1969, leaving the possibility for Faceless Ones and Evil of the Daleks. This was quite impressive, considering we knew so much of that material, 27 tons, remember, of material, including a lot of the older stuff, had been chucked. So the fact that there was proof of recordings as far back, it shows that despite what was being junked, you never know. Aron was also giving an indication of the delicate nature of the material, and the fact that given the size, it could be an enormous project that would take years to fully sort through. Look, now that's a very brief summary of 3 podcasts. I've probably missed so many details, so if you want more information, check out the link to the 42 to Doomsday podcast. I'll leave it in the description. I highly recommend it. So, now you have your brief background. Let's discuss the latest and perhaps most crucial update. On the Gallifrey Base forum, Aron updated users with a lengthy post, so let's break it down. Firstly, he explains that the collection was moved to the University of Southern Queensland, which has greatly improved the speed of the process. He even stated that the entire collection has now been logged, so that's really good news. The 60s and 70s tapes are quite hard to access, damage, that sort of thing, so none of that's been done in Australia. The tapes are being sent to the UK, that's where the recovery work will be done. I imagine it'll be something similar to the baking of films done by people like Paul Venezis, if you've seen on YouTube. Now, Aron excitedly goes on to describe how the discovery of a Softly Softly episode gives much of the Troughton era a chance of being found, and I think, again, that was referring to the 1969 recording from a little while back. Aron then reinstates that the collector had significant amount of material, and that looking through hard drives resulted in some interesting advertisement finds. Importantly, he then goes on to talk about how the collector dubbed tapes, meaning there is potential for the missing Doctor Who episodes to have been copied onto later formats, which means even if all of the original tapes of these recordings of stories like Evil the Dalek, Space Pirates, I don't know, Fury from the Deep, even if those were destroyed, if the guy taped them onto things like the 80s, 90s, then it might not matter. Now, I don't think that's the case, because I heard eventually his collection got to the point where he couldn't even sleep in his own room, so he probably wasn't keeping track of films. I imagine they were in massive piles, and he probably didn't go back and try and copy things, but you never know. Finally, Aron admits to being more optimistic, despite the fact that most of the tapes in that crucial 60s to 70s period are gone from him. Since there are still 100 or so more tapes to go through, he's just hoping that those have some interesting finds. This update leaves me hopeful, but we're not really any better off than we were. He's confirmed that most of the material is gone, but he has said that what's left could be very exciting. Aron seems optimistic, but as he said, almost all of the 60s and 70s material was destroyed. Of course, anything found from any show I can appreciate, but I think all 60s Doctor Who fans will agree it would be somewhat bittersweet if all these other shows had amazing finds and Doctor Who still remained on 97 missing episodes. Not even a clip or anything found. There's not much point speculating further, but without getting your hopes up too much, there is still the potential for around 31 missing Patrick Troughton Doctor Who episodes to return, if we are incredibly lucky. Stories like the Space Pirates will broadcast more, so that has a better chance of turning up than Evil of the Daleks. Most people wouldn't be happy with that, but for me, I think Space Pirates is underrated, and I think it could have a bit of a reappraisal if it was returned, so fingers crossed. At this point, you have to take what you can get, so anything from Doctor Who would be amazing, I'm sure. If you're wondering how long to another update, it's hard to say. But based on everything I've heard, it could still be another year or so before we get a definitive answer. Don't get your hopes up, just consider the possibility that very soon, Patrick Troughton episodes could be found, and that tantalising number of 97 missing episodes could drop down once more. Let me know your thoughts on the situation in the comments, like, subscribe, all of that stuff, it helps out. And I will see